Greetings and welcome to our Sunday celebration at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I am so glad that you have chosen to join us this Sunday afternoon. If you are new to the Center for Spiritual Living, I'd like to tell you a little bit about who we are in our welcome. And so these are the things that we value at the Center for Spiritual Living. And you can tell a lot about an organization and an individual by what they value. And the number one thing on our list is spiritual growth and practice. That is the whole reason that we exist, why we come together, is to grow spiritually and to learn from one another and to love one another. That's our next value, to love and to offer appreciation, to be in community, to experience freedom of expression, feeling like we're free to be the navigators of our life. We value creativity, we value health and wholeness, as well as generosity and financial well-being. And the mission of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala is the same as the mission and vision of the larger organization of Centers for Spiritual Living. We are just one of over 400 centers that are located around the world, the United States. And our mission as an organization is to provide spiritual tools for personal and global transformation. And our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. That means that we believe that every one of us come into this world perfect and divine and spiritually magnificent. Magnificent, yes, but we sometimes forget. In fact, most of us forget, and it doesn't take us too long for that to happen. So we're here to remind you of that and to bring you back into that knowing and understanding. And our vision is a world that works for everyone. And so today, I am so excited about our guest. I think a lot of you will know who she is and will be excited to see her as well. But before we bring in Reverend Peggy Hostetler, I'm going to bring Donna Davis, our practitioner, into the stream here. Hey, Donna.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Awesome, awesome. I see a different background right back there behind you. So we know that you're not at home.
No, we're not at home. We're actually in Clearwater with a friend. So,
Excellent,
yeah,
excellent. Doing some self-care, right?
yeah, and just catching up with, sometimes years go by and you haven't seen a person in a long, long time. And so, you have to be like, let's just reconnect and see where they're at in life, and some really cool stuff happening, some not so cool stuff happening, but all of it's still in divine timing. So we're just
Yes,
hanging with our friend.
I
Yeah.
know it's been a week of some crazy, hasn't it?
Oh my gosh. Gosh, it's been interesting.
Yeah, it has. I know it has in my world. Everyone I talk to seems to have some kind of crazy thing happening in their existence. And
It's not so much crazy for us. We're actually at a point of I think evenness. You know,
good.
so that's really nice. I mean, we got some big projects that we still need to take care of, and still trying to figure that out. But yeah, it's been kind of cool.
Wonderful. And we stay in the practices, right?
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely. I'm still
right.
working on trying to get our mind treatments done every Sunday because our internet was so wobbly that the computer wasn't speaking well, and it was something that we had to close down for a while. But hopefully, we'll be able to start it back up next week. So
Wonderful. Well, Madam Prayer Warrior, you're so awesome at that. I love to have you do our invocations, and I'm going to turn it over to you so you can pray us in.
all right,
All right.
let's do it. I invite you now to just kind of get settled into your seat. Mm, Wherever you're sitting or laying or hanging out, just allow gravity to hold you to that spot. Taking a deep breath in with the inhale, just knowing that you are accepting in this moment this breath of life. Seeing that breath go through the entire body, oxygenated blood just pumping through your veins and back on out. And as you exhale, taking with it anything that no longer serves you, carbon dioxide out to the trees, and they inhale and exhale. And as we connect to just the breath, that rhythm that is life, we allow for that to wash over us and allow for our body to just take what it needs and give what it has. And that cycle continues. And it's from this space of oneness that I say that I understand and know without a shadow of a doubt that everywhere and everything is God. God expressing life itself, pulsating all around me, in other people, in myself, in my animals, the very bugs outside, the grass that's growing, the trees that are swaying, and all of it is life expressing, God expressing. And I am a part of that one life as I sit in my seat, breathing. It's from that space of oneness that I now know that every good thing that is God is me. And anything that I desire, I already have. And as I breathe in that knowingness, I'm coming from that space of gratitude. Gratitude for my life, gratitude for how I show up in the world, gratitude for each and every person that exists, gratitude for those who agree with me and for those who do not. Gratitude for my pets and wild animals, for the sunrise, the sunset. Gratitude for my next breath. And I release this into the law, knowing that the law is working for the highest and best of all. And together we can say, and so it is. Ashe, Amen. Namaste.
So it is. Oh man. Thank you, Donna. Always, as always, so beautiful.
I'm so excited about today's guest.
Well, while you're on, why don't you talk a little bit about today's guest before we bring her in?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll just say so. I'll open, right. It's Reverend Peggy Hostetler, and for those who uh, don't know or who are not that familiar with the Center for Spiritual Living, Reverend Peggy was the minister here at CSL Ocala when I found Centers for Spiritual Living, and she was my mentor and my teacher and my guide, and just helped me step into this role as minister. And I am eternally grateful. And so she had also, I know, a great impact on Donna. And there's Norma in the background. Hi, Norma.
Hello,
How you doing?
I'm well.
Good, good, good. So what would you like to say about Reverend Peggy before we bring her in?
You know, the first time I ever stepped foot in the CSL, I just thought I was weird, a weirdo, because I liked all the different religions and would take a little bit from each thing. And then I found this entire group of weirdos like me, which was wonderful. And when I first got there, I had two very, very hyperactive children. And I thought, these people meditate a lot. It's going to be jarring for me to bring my kids to church. And so Reverend Peggy pulls me aside and she says, Donna, the enthusiasm of your children is wonderful. And who do you think is being bothered by it? Because I kept shushing my son. And I was like, me, I don't want him to bother anybody. And, the way that she put it, and that was about the time that I found, after the conversation with her, I found Doreen Virtue, and the way to say hyperactivity, ADHD was always dialed into a higher dimension. And so I would always start treating my son as always dialed into a higher dimension. And I said to him, I said, honey, it's like you are digital and the rest of the world is analog.
I'm going to bring Reverend Peggy in. Let me bring her in on this. Hi, Reverend Peggy.
And the way that she spoke about our young people and the way that she loved our young people and the way that she just opened her heart and everything to us. And I know that Norma has her own thing about it because, that when we first started coming, we thought, well, we're just so different. Our family was so different. And we breezed into this beautiful little space with these amazing people and just look, it was like light everywhere we looked when we came into that place.
Well, for me, it was I'm that person that you can't talk to me for longer than 10 minutes, so I'm gonna be snoozing off on you. Well, Reverend Peggy always kept me captured. It was as if I hung on her next word. You blink, you might miss something. So
Mhm.
I never fell asleep on her. So that was that this lady must have a gift. So, and I'd listen and I'd learn and I'd take in things. And then I noticed the technique that she uses to always invite you to think about things. And I'm like, I've never been invited. I've always been I've been told to do things or I should or whatever, but she always invited me to think about stuff. And that was just marvelous. You just pick up little nuances, and she has a whole lot of them.
And we use that now all the time. I say invite you because it's true, and people are more open to an invitation.
Yes.
So, and I always refer to Reverend Peggy as my spiritual mama.
Yep.
She took on that role for us, and both of us. I mean, I was caregiver for my mother, and Norma had lost her mother when she was young, and I had other people who stepped into the role of mother, but the spiritual mother was Reverend Peggy. And
For
just,
sure.
just pulling that out of you and allowing you to just be.
Didn't even know it was being done, but she was.
Yeah,
she was
it's a way of doing it, Yeah. So thank you so much, Reverend.
Mm.
You're just so wonderful. What an
Yes.
inspiration.
Definitely.
An inspiration. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome back, Reverend Peggy.
Thank
It's
you.
been, we're just saying over 5 years since we've all shared the same stage together,
Last time at our wedding, wasn't it?
Yes, our official wedding. That was
right? Yeah. Was it?
Yes,
Mhm.
you two both oversee.
That was your ordination.
That's right.
That was
That's
the first
right.
you did as an ordained,
Or
it's
Licensed
as a
licensed minister.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then Reverend Peggy was passing the baton to you. And so
Yeah.
you did the wedding together. And nobody knew we were going to do it. We just showed up and all of us was wearing the same color. And everybody's like, wait, hold on. What's
What's going
happening?
on?
And that was really cool.
How awesome. What a great reunion. Thank you, ladies.
Mm.
Thank
Thank you for
ladies.
the wonderful welcome.
Oh,
Sure thing. Reverend Peggy, how does it feel to see your I don't know, your little chickies, your progeny here?
It's the most fulfilling thing that I have had a wonderful experience of, is to see that I've touched some lives and that they've gone forward, perhaps a little bit because of what I have been to them. That's the most awesome gift
yeah.
that I receive, and it keeps coming back. Sometimes people touch lives and they never hear about it. And so it's just wonderful when I do hear about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that that's why I do it, but just being who I am. That's all.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thanks for joining us, Donna and Norma. I know y'all are out there having fun and appreciate you taking time out of your day to.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching you guys. So I can't wait to hear what you got to going on.
All right, honeys. Love you. Yeah.
Bye.
So, Reverend Peggy, thank you again. It's actually Reverend Dr. Peggy
Mm.
Hostetler. Yes, I was there when you got your honorary doctorate degree. So many adventures and travels that we have had together.
Yes. And they're just beginning.
Isn't that something, Yes. Well, my beginning, I want to go back to that and just really acknowledge you a little bit more for that, because when I found the Center for Spiritual Living, if you'd asked me at that time how I was doing my life, I'd say, yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine. And I think this happens to a lot of people when they come into the Center for Spiritual Living. Maybe not everybody, but you find this safe space where you can finally be who you are, right? Express and start to explore some things. And my life bottomed out right after finding the center. I don't know, it was divine guidance, what it was, but I've been thinking a lot about that this week because I had an incident that reminded me of something I was going through at that time, like my dark night of the soul. And I was just a wreck. And thank goodness I found the center, because I found you, this, as Donna and Norma said, this wonderful mother, teacher, spiritual leader figure, and teaching me all these different principles and ideas. And I got to use them in my life in real time as my marriage looked like it was falling apart. And I was on the verge of losing my house and my business, and all these things were going wrong at one time. And I go in your office and just just cry my eyes out and sit in the back of service on Sundays and cry some more. It was, I don't know, I spent months and months just crying and releasing all of that stuff. And I don't know what you saw in me, but I started to see pretty soon on that I might be following this path, right? It was some of those breadcrumbs that were starting to lead me in this direction, and you saw it and helped nurture it, and I just will thank you forever for that.
Mm.
Yes. I think I know my life would have been on a very, very different trajectory had I not stepped into the Center for Spiritual Living in that year. And
That's really quite often the case, that people discover our teaching when they are going through the dark night of the soul. And it's part of their spiritual path to have those moments. And those moments seem to last forever when you're in them. It's
yes,
only when you come out the other side and look back on it that you see what a short time it really was. But when you're in it, it's kind of like you're down this dark place and you can't get out. And yet, if someone else knows the truth about you, knows the wonder of you as a divine being, then you start to see it, or you can start to see it then. So
yeah,
it is an important role, and I'm sure you're doing that all the time now yourself with
yes.
people's lives.
I
And
tried.
that's one of the most awesome gifts, is to be there and to know the truth about people when they don't yet know it for themselves, or they knew it but they forgot.
Yes, and that's what you did so beautifully for me, was to just say, I think at one point it was something, I have to paraphrase how you said it, but the strength that it takes you to get through this situation, this dark time right now, is going to serve you very well. I can't wait to see who you are on the other side of it. And I held on to that. I thought, she sees something that I'm not seeing, and I'm trusting that because I trusted you. And
Mm,
so you created that space for me, and that's what I try to do for
mm,
others.
mhm. It's a privilege to be in that role, and I know lots more people are being called to that. Because, well, they call it the wounded healer sometimes, where someone has had those wounding experiences. And as they come through that, then when they talk to others, they speak from a place of real authority. It's not theoretical spiritual learning. They have had that life experience, and that brings with it an authenticity which people do hear at a deep soul level. And I think our soul loves to hear the truth about itself. And we don't often hear that outside of our centers for spiritual living quite often, even in our families of origin. Our parents or our siblings don't recognize that in us because they've not known it. We're
Right.
very privileged as true students or students of the science of mind philosophy, or however you want to define ourselves. We are very privileged, and I like to think that we're the front runners that'll
Yes.
help to bring this to the planet.
I love that. I love that. So I'm trying to decide if I want to have you. Well, why don't you share how you came into Science of Mind very quickly, and then we'll tell people where you've been, and all for those who have missed you, seeing you.
Okay, so I go way back. I lived in Ohio. I'm newly married with a young baby, and we were hearing ministers speaking in a different way. Although I've been raised as a Methodist and always listening to Methodist ministers, the young ministers were telling something different than what I had heard as I was growing up. I didn't know what it was. Um, my husband wanted to move to Florida, so we moved to Fort Lauderdale area, and I worked at a job down there. And I was a computer programmer, and all the programmers were men, except for one other woman and myself. And we would eat lunch together. And my friend Linda was going to what did become Center for Spiritual Living in Fort Lauderdale at that time. And she told me one Monday morning as we were eating lunch together, she says, my roommate here at work came from a fire and brimstone church, and his church may be teaching you how to die, but where I go, they teach you how to live. And I said, well, where is that? And she told me. She did not even have to take me. I sought it out. And when I went to the center in Fort Lauderdale, here it was what I'd been hearing but it was much more and more clearly articulated than I had heard from the pulpits before. And my search ended there. I did not need to look any farther. I was home. And that was a good long time ago. That was over 50 years ago.
Wow.
Um,
I didn't realize it was that long. My goodness.
yeah, 1970. And my daughter was born the next year, and my kids were raised in this teaching. And at first, I thought I was coming to this teaching for my kids. I wanted them to have an only positive religious upbringing. Um, and they got that, but I was learning along the way with them and going to class and so forth. I didn't become a minister until 1995. But that was just the way my path unfolded.
Isn't that interesting? I found the center because of my children as well. And they ended up not actually spending a lot of time at the center, but I was looking for spiritual parenting. I was publishing the parenting magazine at the time and was looking for articles on spiritual, not religious, right? We always make that distinction because you could find the religious stuff that was all over the place, but I wanted things that were a little deeper, and had found the Virtues Project, and it was connected to, at the time, I guess we were called Oak Brook Life Enrichment Center. And anyway, I thought, wow, what a great way, what a great teaching for kids. And so that was my opening also to the center, only to walk in and see this little woman yourself, right, reading something. I think you said something from the Bhagavad Gita and something from the Bible and something from, I don't remember, Star Wars or something like that. It was just so wonderful. I thought, well, this is phenomenal. This is what I've been looking for all my life. And so, isn't that fun?
It is fun, especially when we sense that at a soul level that we've come home. And it's very emotional. I mean, some of your tears that you described, I had as well. And it was, I think, as much about the soul search coming to a conclusion in this teaching. Not that that was the end of the search, but it was the end of the longing for something that was real. And it was very emotional for me. I remember once after I left a church, well, the church in Orlando where I serve now, I was hiding in the bushes crying, and my husband came finding me. He says, "Why are you crying?" I said, "I can't tell you." But it was just such an emotional thing. My kids were teenagers by that time. And yes, so there is something of a very deep, visceral, emotional level because this search that we may be on, we could call it the hero's journey. I don't know what kind of names you'd like to use for that. And yet there is this awesome thing that once we find it, we want to keep growing within it and then tell others about it and be there for them.
Yes, yes. And thank you for nurturing me along that journey. I was thinking also about when I finally said yes, because I've been toying with the idea for a while of going into ministerial school. And I know you saw it and you were encouraging me. And we had a program at the center. Do you remember this? You played a little clip from Indiana Jones.
Oh,
I don't remember which movie it was. It was one of the Indiana Jones movies, and the character, the Harrison Ford character, has got to step out, and he doesn't see where he's. I mean, it looks like he's just going to walk
okay.
out.
That leap of faith, that must have been, yeah, that finding the Holy Grail. What was that one?
Yes, that one. That
Yes,
was the one, though.
yeah, that was the one. Yeah.
It says I'm just gonna. He can't see. There's like nothing that visible to him.
Mm-hmm. It looks like there's a chasm below.
Exactly. Looks like he's going to just drop in, and he just takes the step in faith, and the way shows itself. He takes that step and it's right there in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "All right, Reverend Peggy, you got me. I'm in." That was the moment I made the decision. So thank you again.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's fun to hear from this side.
Yeah. So for folks that haven't seen you for a while, fill us in on what you've been doing, what you're up to. Because you were supposed to retire, right?
That's right. Yes. I had a couple of things at the beginning of my becoming a minister in the 90s that I knew. One was that I was to serve for 20 years in Ocala. And I don't know how I knew that. There were other things along the way that just came to me, and I knew that that was the case. And so I thought I was retiring. My goodness, I was going to be 70. This is 2015, and that sounds like a good age to retire. And so we planned it, and you were graduated right that summer and ready to step in, and I was ready to let go. But 6 months before that, I'd received a call from someone I had known in Orlando, and that's where I'd taken all of my classes right up through ministerial school, was at the Orlando Center. And they said, they're going to sell the building. It's falling all apart. They've closed the doors, and can you come down and help? And that was January, and I wasn't going to retire until August. And I said, well, after August, I can come down once a month, perhaps, and see what wants to happen down there. So yes, I retired in August of 2015. And in September of 2015, I started doing a service once a month, first in an office and then in someone's home because the building was locked to us. And then by 2016, we got the building back, and Reverend Cindy Shellum, who was also a ministerial student of mine, had moved to Orlando, and she and I have served that center since, and revamped. The building has been renovated, and if any of you ever have a chance to come to Orlando, find us. Yes, Center for Spiritual Living, Orlando Center for Spiritual Living. And I'm getting ready to retire from that now.
I wonder what that's going to look like.
Well, it was an interim thing. I joined in because I have not moved to Orlando. And so it's 80 miles each way from where I live in the Ocala National Forest. And I was down there today for the Sunday service. And I don't speak every week. I'm speaking less and less and moving toward really retiring. But still teaching in the School of Ministry.
Right. So you haven't talked about that, the School of
Oh,
Ministry.
yes. Yeah. So, talk about little chicks, to have folks become ministers and teach in that school. I'm a director of the school. I'm not the dean, but the director, and that's mostly a title, but not that much work to do to be director. But I do teach classes most terms. And so this June, we will graduate 10 more ministers. And we've had a number come through that school, and Reverend Cindy is one of them. And it's the Florida School for Spiritual Leadership of Centers for Spiritual Living.
It's so phenomenal. And to think after your retirement, you revived the Center for Spiritual Living in Orlando, and it is beautiful. I'm looking at comments here. I don't know if you can see, we've got quite a few people joining us that we know. You'll be happy to see some of those names. You've got Joe Solar from your center, I believe, and Donna was talking about how beautiful the building is now in Orlando, and I will vouch for that. We've had several of the ministers' graduation ceremonies, and it's just almost unrecognizable from what it was when it looked like it was going to shut its doors. So thank you for that.
Yes, I'm looking at these comments. How wonderful. Thank you all.
Yes, we've got Katie Levi from Albuquerque. I don't know if you know her, but I know her. And Rodney is with us.
Reverend Rodney.
There you go. Tough tenderness and gentle strength, piercing love. Yes, for sure. Oh, and to think how many people are ministers today because of you that are now sharing this philosophy and this way of life and this very healing system that we have, but this healing teaching that, wow.
Well, to my mind, and I say this often, the most valuable thing on planet Earth is our teaching of the science of mind. I really believe that to be true. I think it holds the answer for lives that work and that a world that works. And as people come into this understanding, they can keep their own religious leanings and become students of the science of mind. That was our founder, Ernest Holmes' original idea. that you didn't have to give up a religion that you love in order to become a student of the science of mind, but just to apply our teaching. A lot of folks want to attend our centers, and that becomes their religious as well as spiritual home, but it isn't necessary for people to do that in order for them to get the benefits of the teaching. And so I think the gift that comes from being in spiritual community is that support, that upliftment that comes when we give one another the gift of our own faith and understanding and commitment to this teaching. Something about seeing someone else putting it into practice in their lives and their lives getting better because
Yes.
of it.
Yeah.
And the ongoing understanding of our immortality and our divine nature, and for us to see that about our kids and our loved ones, even if they don't see it for themselves yet, lifts them and lifts us in our understanding of them. So it's life's best thing.
Yeah. So if you could boil it down to like maybe the three main things that you think are the pieces of the science of mind teaching that is what makes it so special and so unique.
Okay. Well, God is all there is. There's
Mm.
this infinite source that creates everything and becomes that which it creates, including us. That just as that infinite source is creative, as we line our thinking up and our soul nature up with that, then we become creative in positive ways for our lives and for our world. Um, and then I think there's this wonderful pull toward heaven on earth that's drawing us all. Another Star Wars kind of analogy of that tractor beam that
Mm.
pulls that ship into whatever that was. There's something, it's a divine urge that's within us, perhaps pushing us from behind or drawing us to it, that forever invites that upward spiral of ourselves as individuals and of humanity. And I think heaven on earth is possible as we go toward that. And it's a forever journey from the perspective of human life. And yet it keeps getting better and better, and we can keep looking forward to that.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for saying it so succinctly and so beautifully. I think the folks that are listening, even if they've never known you, by now they're getting the idea that you really are a master of reinvention. So,
Well, I have had people tell me that they won't use me as an example of how to retire.
yeah. Well, we get to define it, right? We get to
Yes, right.
define
Yes.
what it looks
But,
like
well,
for us.
my parents both lived to way up in their 90s. And so as I turned 70 and now I'm 75, I think I still have some time to do some work.
Yeah.
And I'm not done. And so retirement is not a word that I often articulate in any way about myself.
Yeah.
But I am having fun and life is good, right?
Well, and things are changing so rapidly, I think, for everyone, right? We've got all of this uncertainty. I mean, the past year, no one could have predicted all of the things that are happening. Um, can you share with us maybe how you're able to roll with it? And how do you know when you come to this crossroads, you go this way, do you go that way? Like, how do you know which way to go? And yeah, just leave it at that.
I trust the wisdom within me that is God. Um, and I vision a lot. We vision for our center every Monday at 1:30. We're now visioning for the creation of a day school in Orlando connected with our center that will bring together things like the Montessori method and science of mind for kids for day Monday through Friday. I did teach junior church for a long time, and I knew an hour a week isn't enough. So here, this idea has always been there, and Reverend Cindy and I had that idea 20 years ago together too of doing a day school. And when it comes to the calling to do the next thing, there is that divine urge behind me, pushing me and indicating who to bring in as players. I think I have a gift of attracting the right people to help make things happen. and that's God's gift to me, and I can't explain it at all. But I do know that I don't do any of it myself.
Mhm.
I simply allow myself to be used.
Yeah. And so do you get your answers? I mean, does it feel like is it a voice? Is it a sense? Is it signs? How does it show up for you?
Well, I could use this school as an example that what we're visioning for right now. Um, Things seem to be moving in a direction to have a school at our center, and one individual, Lisa Minter in Orlando, has had a dream, and we talked about it more than a year ago. And as that came forward, and she was getting real clarity, and so was I. I thought of giving Beth Linguri a call because I know she's an educator and minister in our movement. She also used to come to the Ocala Center and maybe still connects with you.
Mhm.
And when I called her and asked if she would be interested in visioning with us, she said to me, "Well, you know, Peggy, I'm getting ready to retire from Geneva, Switzerland, and I was wondering what I should be doing next."
Hmm. Perfect
And
time.
and so those kinds of things are great indications that we're on track, right?
That's right.
Uh,
That's right.
and that things fall into place, and the people that come forth to create something line up, and all these yeses show their face.
Yes.
And whether it's from another person or just something that's it's unfolding, that's in a different way, there are these. What was it that Emerson said? Jove nodding to Jove behind our back. You know,
Mm,
so here you and I are speaking, Cindy, and yet there's something going on behind us and
mhm,
above us and within us that is not part of our physical form.
mm.
There's a communion going on right now, and I think with others perhaps that are with us today. And there's this aha, yes, kind of thing happening, that nodding from the divine behind us. Um, and it reveals itself in gentle ways without words, but with knowingness. And the
Yes.
ideas simply come
Right.
when they should.
And the more we listen to it, the more we heed
Right.
the lessons and what it's trying to tell us, the easier it shows up, I think.
Right. And
How
visioning helps because we're consciously choosing to ask those questions. You know, what is God's highest idea for
Yes.
something? And when we do that, we are actually honing our intuitive skill, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm looking at the time, and I know that we could talk for hours more about so many different things, but I would just want to thank you again for who you
Mhm.
are in my life. My word for this year is gratitude, it's appreciation.
Mm.
I'm just bringing in the people who have meant so much to me, and you are at the top of my list.
Mm.
And
Thank you
so
so
I'm glad
much.
that you could
It's
take
been a
time.
privilege. It's been a privilege, and my love to all those who've shown their names here. I am looking at it on the right. Uh,
Isn't that
I
fun?
I have fond memories of so many of you, and look forward to seeing you in person sometime in the near future.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you can't see them in person, I don't know how many of these folks are going to be on the Zoom call after this, but there will be a Zoom call that's
Okay.
starting just shortly right after as we wrap things up here, and then we go.
Okay. I'll stay. I'll be there. If you
Yeah,
send me a link, I'll be there.
terrific, and people can check in and just say hello and give you a little love, and
Yeah. Be
I'm
great.
sure they have their stories to share as well.
This has been a privilege and a great delight. Thank you so much for asking me.
Thank you, Reverend Peggy, and thank you for the beautiful work that you have done and that you continue to do. And I just wish the Orlando Center just all the
Mm.
best in getting this school off the ground. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you.
Love you. Bless you.
All right.
Mhm.
See you on
All
Zoom
right.
in a few moments.
Okie doke.
Look in the
Very
chat,
good.
you'll see it there.
Okay.
Terrific. Thank you. All right. So thank you all for being here. I just appreciate seeing all of the comments, and it's just so wonderful to have you join us and know that you're taking your Sunday afternoon when there's so many things you could be doing. And so I'm going to take some time here and ask you all to This is the time that we share our gifts. And so I will ask that if what we do resonates with you, if you appreciate the work that we are about, and enjoy supporting the Center for Spiritual Living, I invite you to do that. And to please give, give not just to the Center for Spiritual Living, but to life, right? To give to your neighbors, to your families. Sometimes it's just a smile. When somebody's down, sometimes it's a listening ear, but as we give, we receive. And so if you feel spiritually fed by the center, then we make it really easy for people to give to the center. Let me have our little ticker tape going across the bottom there. If you'd like to give to the center, we've made it really easy. You can go on our website and donate via PayPal, or you can text to tithe from your cell phone. You call 352-320-5110. And actually, you don't call, you text it, and you put in the amount of money that you want to send us, and it will go right from your account to ours. Super easy, super easy. So I invite you to do this affirmation with me. Just listen as I say it. Maybe hold your hand over your heart. It is the nature of life to give of itself. As it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom, it is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. I do feel so, so very blessed. Let me remove this from here and remove that other thing from there. And let's see what else. I think I have something else I want to share with you. I'm so glad that Reverend Peggy talked about visioning today and the importance of visioning and what that has meant in her life and in our center, because we will be visioning next Sunday as a group. For those who are interested, be on the lookout for the Zoom link that we'll be putting in the chat. And join us for visioning then on Sunday, February 7th at 4 p.m. following our broadcast. And you'll get to see, if you've never done visioning before, you'll get to see what that's all about. And if you have, do join us, and we appreciate your expertise and your intuition, and look forward to having you with us. And so I believe that is everything. Let me take a look at the comments. Again, I want to invite you all to join us on Zoom right after this. Let's see if there's anything else I have missed. I think that's it. So I invite you to join us on Zoom, and I will close this out with the prayer for protection from James Dillett Freeman. Some of you may know he was a great unity teacher, and you probably all know it by now, but the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And I just affirm that all is well in your life, no matter what challenges you may be facing, that you have every resource you need to get through it. And I look forward to seeing you next week. See you soon.